Well, Trace, speaking of Bazzana, we have Andrew Riddle joining us on the show.
How we doing, guys? How are we tonight?
We're doing great. I knew you were going to come in with a blazing great accent, and you delivered. You couldn't have delivered any better. In fact, I was telling Nick, I got up this morning, I seen the email, and the first thing I seen was "no problem, mate," and I thought, you know what, this is going to be a pretty good day. So,
Yeah,
thank you
that's
for joining.
absolutely anytime. I spent about 7 or 8 years in the US, but obviously back at home now. So slowly working to get my accent back after I lost it a little bit from being over there. So I'm trying to get it back at the moment.
Fair enough. All right. Well, there's a mutual connection. Obviously, both of us have. Coach Denneman was fortunate enough to reach out to you. Just a quick little rundown on yourself. You had the opportunity to be involved in baseball over in Australia. Not really I don't want to say the sport of choice. I think in your mind, you'd like it to be the sport of choice, but it's just not, quite frankly. It's not the most popular sport. I guess in a quick little rundown, how'd you get involved in this? And then really, when was your first introduction to what would end up being possibly the number one draft pick in Travis Bazzana?
Yeah, absolutely. I just grew up like a lot of Australians do. My dad played, my granddad played and everything when I was growing up. So kind of filtered into the sport as a lot of the guys do at the moment. We'd obviously love to get the other athletes that are playing cricket and things like that, but we're slowly getting across there and building the sport. So I came across and went to college like a lot of our guys are at the moment, like Travis is. And then I was lucky enough to obviously meet Trav on an MLB international trip that MLB runs. They bring across 30 of the best prospects when they're 15, 16 years old. So that was the first introduction that really got to know Travis, get to start being around him a little bit and seeing the kind of player, just person he is, to be honest with you. And then from there, just followed his journey, stayed pretty close with him throughout his college years and go back and forth, obviously, via messages a lot and things like that at the moment. He's obviously our biggest driving force for the under-23 World Cup, which is later this year. So whichever team drafts him and obviously gives him a stack of cash, trying to get him for the under-23 World Cup may not be a realistic option, but maybe Premier 12s and World Baseball Classics and things like that is more our go from where we're going to be able to get him.
You never know. Bryce, you have anything that you want to kind of start off asking some baseball questions here?
Yeah, of course. Obviously, watched a lot of Travis and awesome player. Seems like a great dude. I guess what are some things that you can kind of dive into? I think the one thing that everybody says about him is he's just a baseball junkie, loves the game, eats, breathes, sleeps it. What are some things you can kind of tell us about his, I guess, that side of things there?
Yeah, I think obviously in an imperfect sport where you're going to fail more than you're going to succeed, it's probably just a relentless pursuit of perfection, I think, is what Travis has always been. He's always trying to be the guy that succeeds and is able to perfect a sport that, to be honest, nobody's ever going to do. So he's always going to be chasing that. And I think you've seen that in his progression from winning West Coast MVP in the Summer League before he was even a freshman to winning the Cape MVP a couple of years later. I think he's just been able to go from strength to strength and really build his game. I spent a summer with him after his sophomore season at Driveline up in Seattle, and he was working out every day up there. I spent a week with him and just got to see him go to work for a week. And it was a 9 to 5 in the facility, video work, cage, weight room, back to the hitting side of things. It's just an intensity that not a lot of kids, I think, that age really had. And we still got to see it, obviously, as a 15 and 16-year-old. He played as a 17-year-old in the Australian Baseball League up against low A through to triple A guys that come down here in the off-season. So he's been around high-level guys. He's been around pros his whole life, ever since he was 17 years old. So to see him have the success that he's having at the moment isn't really a surprise to some of us. But I think to be able to see him on now and an international stage and really get the credit he deserves over in the US, I think is great.
All right, so you obviously have maybe better perspective on what this could mean internationally. Not that this is that big of a decision by any franchise. They want the best player available. They want the guy that's going to help them win on the field. But from more of a fan perspective, you've seen what Shohei Ohtani has done for the game in regards to kind of internationally bringing in a whole nother country. Certainly that where he's from, the baseball's already kind of been a little bit more normalized. But do you think having a guy go 1-1 or 1-2 in a situation like we're hoping for, no offense to Australia, I know that 1-1's probably much cooler to say, but 1-2 is what we're hoping for on this show. Do you think that it will have a huge ripple effect, and do you think that there will be a ton of Guardians fans or Reds fans, or it shouldn't go any farther than that, but I guess Rockies fans or whoever it is, if they decide to take Bazzana?
Yeah, absolutely, and something that we're obviously hoping for not only as a country, but just for all the athletes. I think to be able to be seen and to be noticed and things like that. And the Reds have done a great job out here the last couple of years signing young kids as international free agents. We've got Drew Davies and Darcy Longstaff and guys like that at the moment that are in rookie ball in Arizona. They're out there in Goodyear getting things done. So the Reds have kind of made it a more prominent field for them and a more prominent country for them in the last couple of years. There's a couple of scouts here at the moment, one that I'm really close with who lives not far from here, Donald Lutz, who obviously played in the big leagues for the Reds. So Donald's out here at the moment doing a really good job with another scout, Matt Everingham, in really progressing Australians towards the Reds and making sure that they're seen and getting the chance to be able to put eyes on them, not only in Australia, but then when we take them over to the US to showcases and events and tournaments and things like that. So just like you said, being on a Reds podcast, they've done a really good job expanding their field and population network, I would say, by reaching out to Australia. And yeah, who knows? Maybe Travis is the next one to be able to add to that in a couple of hours.
Yeah, we certainly hope so as well. Diving into a little bit more about the intricacies of his game, obviously, I think we all know how good he is offensively. I think one question that a lot of people have is about his defense and what else he brings to the game there. Obviously, I don't know how much you know about the Reds, but they do have a pretty crowded infield, I guess you could say. But do you think that he's somebody that could transition to the outfield? Obviously, I think we know he has the work ethic for that. Obviously, I think he has the athletic ability for that. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Travis is going to play wherever. He just wants to be on the field, and I think that's the biggest thing. And his bat is going to need to be in a lineup for whichever team that takes him. So I think for him and to see him just from a run speed perspective, being able to track balls down in the outfield and things like that. I mean, I think he can comfortably play center field and left at the next level. I think if that was something that was put in front of him and there was already somebody that was at second base, for example, in the lineup, then he would easily transition out to left or to center and be able to run balls down and get his bat in the lineup, which I think is obviously what whoever drafts him that's what they're taking, is the bat first guy who can really be a 20-20, 25-25 guy and really get in the lineup in the big leagues every day. If he needs to make that transition, I know that he would be more than open to it and happy to it. And we all know that he'd be able to play any position, to be honest with you, at the next level and get his bat in the lineup.
Hey, Andrew, we got a really good question here from Chris in our chat. He asks, is it true that Bazzana has a psychopathic-esque work ethic and drive to find and utilize data? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I got to see it firsthand, obviously, at Driveline that summer that I was up there. He forego playing in the Cape after his freshman year to go to Driveline and really increase everything that he knew that he needed to after his freshman year. So it was really cool to see him go to work. I would say, yes, if you were not somebody that was a high-level athlete that wanted to work every day, you would definitely think it was psychotic. So I think just seeing him do that every day, he went there, got to obviously add to his bat speed numbers and the mile an hours that he was swinging the bat at was a big focus for him. And you saw that in the progression of home runs throughout his career, throughout the exit velocity numbers and the exit velocity phenomenon that we live in at the moment. I think he was a big part of that and being able to drive that forward, and the batted balls in play and how hard he's able to hit the ball, especially in college, I think was a huge asset to his game that he grew from working in the lab and Driveline and really getting after it from a underloaded bat, overloaded bat, getting in the weight room, working on his swing with the guys there. It was really cool to see for me, to see it up close and personal. I worked for USA Baseball at the PEP League. They ran that in 2019 when I worked for USA Baseball, and got to see some of those guys up close and personal. Mason Wynn and Jordan Walker and Robert Hassel and Dylan Cruz, and some of these guys were all in high school that year. So that was what I had kind of been firsthand got to see. So to be able to see Travis mix it up and get to see him on a daily basis and kind of compare him to some of those guys that we're now seeing in the big leagues was a really cool thing for me to be able to put into context and perspective of what Travis is doing and what he's chasing. It's a great question. And yeah, for non-baseball people that got to see it, it's definitely psychotic the way that he goes about it. But that's him, and it's always been him. And that's why he's at where he's at the top of the draft tonight.
Speaking of that perspective, and obviously these are opinions, and there's going to be a ton of different scouts, and depending on the scout that you talk to, they might have a different answer than the next one. So I do think that this is more of an opinion maybe than a solid answer. But on your level, you get to see a lot of baseball players, and you get to see a wide range of what people would consider assets and or perhaps areas that they need to improve. When you see Travis, when you look forward into the future, what are things that you think that quite frankly, he's elite at, and maybe something that if you said, hey, this is probably an area that I could say, if for whatever reason it didn't work out at this level, Major League Baseball specifically, which we all know how incredibly hard it is to not only get there, but to stay there, what would be that area where you think, okay, this might trip him up if it does?
Yeah, I think the relentless, the pursuit of perfection that we always speak about, and Travis probably envisions and embodies the most, in a sport where you fail a lot, it can be very difficult. And I think being able to go through the minor leagues, like I said, as a 17-year-old, he played in the ABL against AA, AAA arms. So that was the first time I think that he wasn't the best guy on the field. And it was the first time that he was able to fail a little bit throughout that season. So I think being able to deal with those failures at the next level is going to be a big step for him. It's well documented that he struggled a little bit with the bat and inside the strike zone during super regionals. And I think that was a failure for him that he was then able to overcome. And as we speak right now, it's draft day, and he's back in the cage and at Driveline at the moment, trying to be better than he was just then. So I think being able to deal with failure at the next level is going to be huge for him, and being able to rebound, taking it at bat by at bat and pitch by pitch and things like that. And just brushing off the little things and being able to get to work and get back on the field to his next at bat, and then not taking that obviously defensively. I think a strive for perfection comes with a little bit of purpose, but also some insecurities and maybe some defensive things that he may get from a failure or a pitch that he thinks he should have hit out of the yard that he pops up on or something like that. How does he react? How does that then translate to the next level, knowing he has 162 games and he has 600 plus at bats and all of those things? I think his obviously next step and into pro ball is dealing with that and failing a lot at the next level that he's not used to. And then also we're really looking forward to seeing him get a wood bat back in his hand. A lot of guys over there haven't seen it yet, and we obviously saw it as a youngster. So I think there's obviously also the perspective of going metal bat versus wood bat, and a lot of guys being able to foresee success or failure is obviously something really difficult in the sport. And we were lucky enough to see him obviously really dominate with a wood bat from a young age. So we're actually we're looking forward to seeing him get a wood bat back in his hand and get into the minor leagues and really start to get after it.
All right, Bryce, you got anything that you want to ask before we send Andrew on his merry way? Do you got any is there any big celebrations if it's 1-1? Let me ask you this: do you think that is there that big of a deal between going 1-1 or 1-2 for the country as a whole? Is it going to be like Australians unite? We did it. We got the top guy of all the guys. You could pick anybody in the world, and they picked an Australian. Is that as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, or no?
I mean, we would obviously absolutely love it, and I'm sure Travis would absolutely love to be able to get up there as 1-1 and show everybody in a country full of baseball fans that an Australian can do it, and that somebody else from another country can get up there and do it. But whether he goes 1-1, 1-2, regardless of where he falls in the draft, I think it's just a great day for not only for us as a sport, but for Travis and his family and everything that he's been able to go through from a young kid from Sydney, Australia. His highest signing bonus out of high school was $90,000. That was the highest that any scout in Australia offered him. And today he's going to become obviously a multimillionaire and the face of a franchise, hopefully, after he gets drafted. So there's a draft party at the moment down at his junior club in Sydney. They've been going since 7 a.m. this morning, getting ready for the draft. So there's little things like that all across the country at the moment that are ongoing that, regardless of where he gets drafted, is going to be huge for us and huge for the growth and development of the sport globally and internationally. If Cleveland aren't smart enough to take him, then I hope the Cincinnati front office is, and hopefully he's not. Hopefully he's not there in a couple of years' time, and we're having a conversation of him being a multi-time All-Star playing for another team. So hopefully it's Cleveland or Cincinnati are the ones, the smart guys in the front office.
Well, I think you let Travis know that he deserves a lot of money, and if you ask for enough money, eventually Cleveland's going to think they need that slot money for some high school we'll just keep pumping that signing bonus up higher and higher and higher and higher and higher until Cleveland passes, and then as soon as they pass, just call the Reds. And I can't guarantee they'll figure it out, but I'm hoping they do.
Yeah, I did hear some rumblings this morning that might be the case, and we'll see what happens with Cleveland and if they take Weatherhold on the slot or what they're going to do. So door may be open for Cincinnati here to make a smart decision for the franchise for the next 10 or so years.
Well, I would love that. All right, you got anything, Bryce, Nick?
I'm more sold on Bazzana than I was not even 30 minutes ago, so I appreciate it.
All right. Andrew, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you jumping on here. I know it's relatively early, and more or less just thanks for jumping on and talking some baseball and specifically Travis Bazzana.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you guys having me. Enjoy the night, and hopefully we're talking in an hour or so, and he's a Red, so we'll speak then.
All right. I love that. All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, guys.